7 years now. I'm a purple belt under Igor Gracie. If you're going to get a black belt, if we're in the pursuit of a black belt, no one better than a Gracie. So my dad's trained Japanese jiu-jitsu for 40-some-odd years. He's in the Martial Arts Hall of Fame. He's a Shihan. And they're very different in regards to the actual tactical approach to it. And one of his students, I bumped into one of his students and I said, hey, listen, I think I'm going to sign up for Japanese Jiu-Jitsu. And this gentleman's a black belt in both. And he's like, no, sign up for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I was like, nah, I think I'm going to do Japanese. Like, I'm telling you, sign up for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's so addicting. You're going to love it. And I knew 2 other guys that did it. I reached out to them like, dude, you would love it. It's such a rabbit hole. I'm a big seeker of depth. So I'm all about going down rabbit holes and seeing where things take me. And I was doing CrossFit pretty regularly at the time, and I was in good shape. And I went and just stepped into the unknown, which I think is such an important part of any journey you go on, is just the discomfort. And I stepped into the academy. I said, hey, I want to sign up for a class. And the professor at the time was still there. He was probably 156 pounds. He's like, yeah, come back and we'll set up a class. I was like, all right, cool. So we did private, and he mounted me. He got into full mount, and I was probably 183 with maybe single-digit body fat. So I was in good shape, and I couldn't move.
Wow.
I was helpless, and I realized I was like, oh, I don't know how to protect myself. Like, I don't know how to do. If I get into a fight, I think I would know what to do, but I really wouldn't. And in that moment, I was super humble, and I was like, yeah, I have to do this. And it's funny because, you wear the gi, and we were doing warm-ups and running around and doing the warm-up, and I was like tired. And I was like, I'm not in this type of shape. I'm in like CrossFit shape, but I can't I'm not in jiu-jitsu shape. So it just becomes a super addicting. I did it when I was 7 years ago, so I was 33 when I started, and it gave me this real sense of confidence that I never had in my life. And I think that's the big takeaway from it. It opens up so many opportunities, but for me, it provides such an avenue of confidence. It's a great workout no matter what. But for me, it's really about the headiness, the thinking element, the human chess element of it. Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that I think that if you take wrestling and judo, you kind of have jiu-jitsu in a sense, minus some of the submission stuff. So in that regard, it seems like it'd be a natural progression, and obviously it's so well renowned. It's world. Obviously, there's competitions throughout the entire world, but there is something to it that it's not. I think that there's so many amazing competitions, ADCC and IBJJ, and there's just so many amazing competition networks that it almost feels like punk rock that it's not. So yes, in the sense that obviously on that scale you're going to see the best of the best of the best, which you've kind of already seen a lot of these competitions. But I think there's also something about it being kind of alt and punk rock that makes it kind of cool. That's not
makes it kind of special, right?
Yeah.
Well, 2 years ago, Tom Hardy secretly entered a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournament and made all of his opponents submit. If you were staring at Tom Hardy on the other side of the mat, how would you attack him?
It's funny. That scene in Batman. Exactly the scene I'm talking about. When he talks about the shadows, him owning the shadow. I could go word for word with that.
I was
molded by it. Molded. I didn't see lights until I was already a bad. I think a big part of jiu-jitsu is the idea that you compete against so many different people, different sizes, different weights, different capabilities, different skill sets, and you really just don't know when the other person is gonna offer you an opportunity to capitalize on it. So I think that I've competed in 2 tournaments. When I first signed up, I wanted to do 1 per belt. So I did 1 at white belt, and I did 1 at blue belt. And I recently, last year I got my purple belt. So I will do 1 at purple belt at some point whenever I feel compelled to do it. So competing is very different. It really sucks you out of reality and it's like this vortex, and you're kind of, it's like so surreal. It's bizarre. It's such a different experience than just rolling. Your adrenaline's pumping, like you're tired in a completely different way. But I would just approach them to the best of my ability and the limited skill set that I have. And there's so many amazing people that do. And Mario Lopez is an avid jiu-jitsu guy. Tom Hardy, Keanu Reeves. There's so many people that have, Anthony Bourdain was a big jiu-jitsu guy.
Yeah, a lot of famous people are getting into
Joe Rogan.
And
Joe Rogan obviously being probably the biggest advocate outside of actual jiu-jitsu practitioners that do it for a profession. I guess, somewhat. So 6 years ago, a buddy of mine was going through a series of events, which was very unfortunate for him. And we would talk pretty much every single day. And one day he called me up and said, "Hey, you got to start a men's group." And I was like, "Okay, sure." I don't know what that looks. I know of men's groups. I never facilitated one, but sure, let's see what that looks like. So I reached out to everybody I knew that I had bigger conversations with, not just the water cooler stuff, but bigger conversations, a little bit more, a little bit deeper. And to my surprise, about 24 guys showed up to the first Council of Duty.
Wow.
And it's funny because in that first meeting when I was pulling to grab coffee, and that voice inside my head was like, "Just cancel. You don't know what you're doing. You're going to embarrass yourself. You have to cancel this. This is not going to go well." And in that moment, I realized it was like that fear that comes up in any new pursuit that we go on, any journey we go on. There's always going to be that fear trying to keep you small. So that was 6 years ago, and we did it graciously at coffee shops and on Zoom meetings during COVID, and we did it in apartment building kind of common areas. And over the last 4 years, I've been saying, in doing that work, and I have my life coaching certification, I've been saying guys in a place that's, stripped of ego, that isn't jiu-jitsu, that isn't the gym, there's comparison narrative that I fall victim to very often. I look at that guy, and that guy's bigger, that guy looks more jacked, whatever it is, So I just wanted to create a place where guys can go and let their guard down a little bit. We do monthly men's group meetings, we do monthly breath work. It is a key fob access, so members do have access to the space on their own accord, so they can come and work from here. They can just grab a coffee. We have a extensive take-a-book, leave-a-book library. So there is this kind of community element to it, but there's also kind of the coaching and the men's group stuff that really brought it home for me. And I wanted to give it a home. I wanted to not just be kind of this vagabond nomad journeying to different places, because I was always on someone else's schedule.
Right.
And I couldn't really own it to the way I wanted to. So I kind of just put it down and put it out there. And four mantras kind of came up for me as I was doing it. And the first one was, on the journey, it was like, don't lose your dinosaur. Like, this idea came to me, and I think we lose that as adults, like this novelty. I think kids have that beauty of just approaching things head on. And then the other ones was the magic is real, because, God, or whatever you want to call it, starts to show you these signs of things that confirm what you're thinking, right? There were so many serendipities when I first started thinking of Agora. People just saying things or other things that would come up. I was like, oh shit, this is a real thing. This is real. The third was follow the golden thread, which is a longer story, but that's that feeling that you get, that you can't really put words into, that pulls you. It's not forceful. It's a flow-based kind of driven mission almost. And the last is, from obviously Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. Just knowing that if you put in the work up front and you show up to do the work, the results, although maybe not in your time frame, the results will come.